So, as Daniel said, I will talk about a business case from Danske Bank, where I have been looking at sentiment analysis and the business strategy and trying to combine these and create some new reports. And this has all been done in the Danish language, which is a kind of a new thing. We are a very small country and there's not a lot of research about this. So, first, I will just start out with a small motivation for you all, just to notice why company needs to care about social media and why it's so important for us all to use this information that we actually get out of it. And the first quote is actually that a lot of all customers here actually expect that we can communicate with the companies throughout social media. So every company actually almost needs to be on social media so they can be contacted in this way. And when we see when companies need to be there, there's also a big benefit about it. And one of them is actually McKinsey noticed that the communication department are able to cut down by 20 to 25% of all cost of this if they are using the social media in a correct way. So both the customers need to contact their companies online, but also a big benefit about it. And last but not least, less than 1/4 of all companies are actually using the information on the social media and having analyst tools to do this, and below 5% are actually using sentiment analysis. So from these three sentences, I will go forward and explain a bit about Danske Bank and how we are able to use sentiment analysis and different analyst tools based on the social media data. So, first of all, it's quite important that you know about Danske Bank and the strategy they have made, because later on there will be some reports that you're able to see how you can do a different conclusion about based on the social media information. Second, you will see there's this new business strategy have improved a lot in Danske Bank, but there's also been a lot of reaction, both positive and negative, and we will look a bit about the activity during around 1 year period. And Danske Bank is at the moment using a lot of social media monitoring tools to kind of have an overview of the social data that are out there. And I will look at some of the problems, how I've solved the problems, and last but not least, I will see the result of it, actually the report and the conclusion you can draw for these. So, first of all, Danske Bank, the largest bank in Denmark, maybe in Northern Europe. They are placed headquarters all around in Northern Europe. Basically, they are the biggest bank in Denmark, in Finland, and in Norway also, I think so. And they have one small headquarters as well in New York. In Danske Bank, there are around 5 million customers, and a lot of them are actually online customers. One of the strategy has been that they are trying to close down the advisory centers to make people force them to go online and do all the service at home instead. And I'm also working in Danske Bank in Copenhagen. I'm not looking at at social media data or communication at all, but looking at financial. So, and where I'm sits and in all around Europe, we are around 20,000 employees. So, what you see here is actually what Danske Bank did starting in the middle of January this year. They split up the customer in 4 different segment groups. And it's quite important to see that we have basic, extra, exclusive, and exclusive plus. Yeah, they're using the Danish name even that they have customer in England and so on. But what you see and what you need to remember from this slide is actually that there are these 2, basic and extra, which it's quite a new thing that you actually need to pay to be a customer of the bank. And normally in Denmark, I'm not sure how it is in the United States, but in Denmark you can create an account for free. You can just go into the bank, and the law actually also says that no bank are allowed to say no to you. But the Danske Bank, what they did, they said that if you have a volume which are below, I think it should be a number over here, but below 705,000 volume, you need to pay a small fee, which is around $20 each quarter. And this actually was a huge thing in Denmark and created a lot of reaction mostly negative, but we will look at that later on. So here's a graph which is showing that the number of posts per day. And as we see, there are some small spikes. We see one here, something over here, and here. And the first spike I pointed at is actually just a small thing, but it's showing that Danske Bank's online bank was going down during the day. And this make a lot of people using the social media, Facebook and Twitter, which is the data I've been looking at, and says that, well, it's down at the moment and do something about this. And they have a very good communication department who are very quickly to answer people and say, we are looking at it and we're sorry, and we will communicate out when it's up and running again. The next small spike is where they come up with a new web design. This is actually starting in November, middle of December, they created this whole new image. So there was a lot of TV commercials all around that try to say, well, this is a new standard. People need to pay to be in the bank. We need to close down a lot of advisory centers because people need to go online instead. And was a lot of changing. So the page also changed. And another also important thing is actually there was a program in the Danish television on the largest channel which says that pointed out that Danske Bank was maybe the key, or if not the key actor of the financial crisis in Denmark. So this, of course, also came up with a lot of reaction on social media, and there is a lot of people who wanted to point out that Danske Bank is they only focus on economy and not looking at people and the workers instead. Last but not least, as you can see, is a very high spike. And this is actually where they introduced the new business strategy. This is the business strategy was the four customer segment that I introduced you to before, where some of them need to pay a small fee. So as you can see, there was quite a lot of reaction, and in Denmark we normally says that this is maybe the biggest Facebook boom of information and reaction that we ever had before. So this is quite it's a very new thing that there's so many people actually active on Facebook, but also that they put out the information on Facebook and try to come up with new ideas and so on. So what Danske Bank is, they are using all the information on the social media because they need to be aware of who are key actors, what are they writing about at the moment, and so on. So what they're using is different online social media monitoring tools. And there are a lot of problems with these tools that they are using. I think it's very normal for all companies at the moment to use this kind of tools. They're free and you only pay around $20 each month or something, and you get a lot of new features that you're unable to see from Twitter or from the Facebook page that you have. But what the problem is that when each time you choose a new social media monitoring tools that you want to try out, there is a limit in the API, both in the Twitter and the Facebook. In Facebook, it's around 1 month back in time you're able to get information, and Twitter is around, I think it's 3 weeks. So a big problem is that if they use one tool and they say, well, this is not working at all, we want to change, try a new one, they lose all the historic data. And as you imagine, that's a huge problem that you're only looking at a really small period. So what I did, I was developing some tools who actually were avoiding this time restriction, so they were able to get information from 2007 and to the day we had today. Next thing is that all kind of social media monitoring tools are made for all other language than Danish. It seems like that. So when they were doing sentiment analysis on the information, they were doing it on English sentiment lexicon or something like that. They were completely wrong, and there are no tools in Denmark at the moment which actually are doing sentiment analysis. So that was also one of my big issues and what I wanted to develop throughout this project. So what I did, I took one lexicon, sentiment lexicon, scaled it up 2.5 times, added emotion and created a better algorithm to look through. All these things are quite simple. But you have to imagine there's nothing I actually can compare it with, because this is the only one which is existent in Denmark at the moment. And last, when you see all this activity, it's quite important for them to know who are these people. Are they customer of the bank? Is this just some random guy, or who are they? So what I did, I compare all the information that we got to the internal CRM system, so we're able to split it up in different ways. And I will show you some of the examples now. So now we had all the information from Facebook and Twitter, like text, time, gender, city, name. We compare them with the sentiment analysis. I did not do the topic identification, but this is just an example that this dimension could be added on. And last but not least, I combined this information with a CRM system. So using all this information, this is a very, very clear, not clear as you see it now, but it's a very simple graph for me to make just based on the information we have. Imagine that we want to target out the customer which have the age group with 25 to 43. And now the communication department knows that if we want to target this type of customer, the best time we do is actually on Friday, 10 in the morning. So that if they have some kind of campaign which want to, it's not for people who is 10 years old or 60 at all, they want to, this tool can actually just be used for this one. A next example is that you can use this information in a geographic way. This is a small map of Denmark, and I've been zooming in Copenhagen area. And I put on the sentiment analysis dimension to add it on to this map. And what it has not been used for this yet, but what it could be used is that they are closing down a lot of advisory centers. So maybe there would be some combination about negative comments on the social media and the closing down the advisory centers, or maybe not. But now they actually have the tools to look at that. And last but not least, another example is that sentiment analysis. As a lot of us know, this is a very powerful tool to look at. And here, as you can see, is very sentiment analysis going up and down. And what we see in December and in January is that people are very negative about it. And this is where the TV commercial, the new brand, the new standard, and also in January where the new business strategy came in, but they put it up, the customers in 4 segments. But who are these people? Was the campaign a good thing or a bad thing? You're unable to say that, you just know that people are negative about it. So if you split it up into the segment groups, this graph will show you something completely different. It actually shows that the basic and the extra customer, this is the customer that Danske Bank do not earn any money on, because they maybe just have an account and they have around $1 or something. It still costs a lot of money to them to be able to go down to the bank. They have an online solution, have a mobile bank, they're able to call the advisory center and so on. So what the campaign shows is actually that these customers are the most negative. These are the customers that Danske Bank do not earn any money on, and the customer which are the best customer of the bank is actually very positive about it, or not negative at all. So what you could draw out of this is very rough, but it seems like the Danske Bank campaign actually, even that many people are very negative about it, they actually target the correct segments. So in this way, we can conclude that throughout this information, that the campaign was actually successful, and this information are not being used by Danske Bank at the moment because they do not have the people who are doing this analysis for them. But now they actually know that it's possible to do, and people, maybe they need to hire someone to actually go in and look through all the information that they're able to get here. And that's what's actually it. So if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.